Hello toy fans, Tony here from Analog Toys, and today we have an unboxing video. But before I dig into this box, I just want to do a shout out to my good friend Michael Mercy for the Nerdmas t-shirt. Love the t-shirt, Michael, thank you very, very much. And if you're not already aware of the Michael Mercy channel, you definitely should be. Head on over, I will leave a link to his channel in the description below. Now, let's get on with today's package. Recently, you'll see I did a video about the Hasbro Star Wars retro line. And in that video, I also talked a little bit about some of the figures that have been produced by Smith Lord Creations from Chris Smith. When I made the video, I never had any intention of, Chris sending me anything. But, I made that video, I spoke from the heart, I just said, how I felt about his reproduction figures. I sent the link to Chris so he could watch the video, and then he reached out to me and said that he would like to send me some stuff in the post. Now, I will say that he never ever said that he wanted me to review these figures, I think they are. I have no idea what's in this box. He never said he wanted me to review these or anything like that. This was just a kind of a thank you for the comments I made in my video. But, I do run a YouTube channel, primarily focused on vintage toys, but the stuff that he produces at Smith Lord Creations are obviously, high quality, from what I've heard, high quality recreations of vintage Star Wars toys. So I'm assuming there's some figures in here. The box looks about the right size. So let's crack this open and hopefully we'll turn an unboxing video into a review. Let's take a look. Yeah, so just recently I've been watching all of the updates on the Bantha project. So Kevin Sexton at Sexton Creations has been sculpting a reproduction of the vintage Kenner Bantha, which was an unreleased toy from the Kenner line, and I think he's just released part 7, and I've got to tell you, this sculpt that Kevin has created looks absolutely amazing. It really does capture that original vintage Kenner aesthetic, and I'll flash the image up on the screen of what the unreleased prototype of the Bantha looked like. And yeah, you need to check head over to Sexton Creations channel and check out all of his update videos, because I tell you, when this toy, when it finally gets manufactured, I will be first in line to purchase one of these, because I just think it's amazing. And it's a real shame that Kenner never produced it back in the day, but thanks to people like Kevin Sexton and Chris Smith, there's the opportunity for modern day Star Wars collectors to be able to acquire a piece like this. So definitely check out those videos. All right, the box I believe is open, so let's take a look what we've got in here. Ooh, a box inside a box. Ooh, 2 boxes. Wow. Wow, these are really, really well packed. Whoa. Okay. Oh my God. It is a reproduction of the last 17 Kenner Star Wars Luke in Stormtrooper disguise. I've got a bit of a story about this figure actually. So when I was a child growing up in the UK, I sort of tapped out of Star Wars around 1984, I think. Probably 1983, because by then I was starting to get into G.I. Joe, I was into Masters of the Universe. And when I started collecting again later on in life, I was never aware of the last 17. The only figure that I was aware of was this one right here, the Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise. And the only reason I know I was aware of this is because a kid who lived down the street from me had one of these. And I remember, I'd never seen them in toy store shelves. But this kid down the street, he had one of these, and I was so jealous. This was so much cooler than my original Star Wars Stormtrooper. So, man, Chris, I just the card stock. I'm not going to get into a review right now. I'm going to get these things opened and then we'll do a review later. But this is just amazing. I also see. Oh my god. Oh my god. He sent me a loose one as well. Wow. He sent me a loose one, so I don't have to open the carded one. There's a loose Luke Stormtrooper disguise with the coin, man, and that coin is heavy. That is heavy. Oh, this box just keeps on giving. Are they? Oh my god, they're double telescoping lightsabers, I believe. Man, never ever I thought I would own one. I mean, I'll probably never ever own an original, but even a reproduction. They look incredible. I'm going to have to get Luke, Ben and Darth out to see what those look like. Wow. Chris, man, Chris. I'm loving this already and I'm only halfway through, so thank you. And I've just got to say, like, the way these are packaged, so there's a nice mailing box and then inside, you know, the carded figure has this individual sort of mailer box. This is really, really high quality stuff. Nothing is going to get damaged. I'll tell you, anyone who's purchasing figures from Smith Lord Creations, if this is the way he posts them, you are getting first class service, absolute first class service. Okay. There's one more here. And we complete the duo. Oh my god. So I just saw some other stuff in here. I'll get into that in a minute. So we complete the duo. We have Han in Stormtrooper disguise. This is the figure that I really, really wanted. And this, for those of you who sort of, you know, keep up to date with the message boards and so forth on Facebook, a lot of people will know that there were some quite angry people out there, pretty unhappy with what Chris Smith is doing. But with regards to this figure, this is not one of the figures that they really had an issue with because it's an unreleased figure. In the original Kenner Star Wars line, we got Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise. We did not get Han in Stormtrooper disguise. So when Chris decided to produce this figure, no one really had an issue with it. But some people, some angry people who aren't exactly very well, you know, who haven't adjusted very well socially, kind of have an issue with what he's doing with the other stuff. I don't, but we'll probably get into more of that in the review. So, and just the same with the Luke, the quality of the cardstock here is just incredible. The coin is incredibly heavy. Man, this is amazing. Oh, I love this. All right. I got very, very excited when I saw something else in here. I'm going to tease you for a moment. So he's also sent me a loose Han Solo in Stormtrooper disguise with the helmet and the blaster rifle. We have the coin, and I'm just astounded, absolutely astounded at how well made these coins are. They are absolutely beautiful. Okay. I know they're reproductions. I have no issue with that. Chris has sent me a massive bag of reproduction weapons. Man, I don't care that they're reproductions. This is incredible. Having a whole bag full of weapons like this that I can use to decorate my loose, incomplete figures. Amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. Wow. Okay. I'm going to sign off right here. I'm going to change my cameras around, get this set up nicely, and I will get into a review. But beforehand, let's take a sort of 5-minute time lapse and let me have a bit of a play, and then I'll bring you my thoughts on the Smithlord Creations loose Han in Stormtrooper disguise and loose Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise. Okay, back in a moment.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
All right, thank you all for hanging around. I know I said I would only be 5 minutes, and it will probably be just a few seconds in the video, but I actually spent a good 45 minutes studying these toys, these action figures, and in particular the reproduction weaponry, and I was just absolutely astounded with the quality that was presented before me. First of all, I'm just going to quickly run through the weapons. So Chris has sent me a blue Imperial Blaster, a blue-black Imperial Blaster, and a black Imperial Blaster. We have got a yellow lightsaber, a blue lightsaber, and a green lightsaber, as well as the blue, red, and yellow lightsabers that came with the first issue run with Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Luke Skywalker. We've then got the Bespin Blaster, the Endor Blaster in black, the Endor Blaster in sort of grey, light blue, the blue-black Smuggler Blaster, the blue Smuggler Blaster, the black Leia pistol, the blue Leia pistol, a weapon for the Imperial Royal Guard. Now, I was very, very excited about this. I've got two Emperor's Royal Guard in my collection, and both of them have, I wouldn't even call them custom weapons. They're actually just cheaply made representations of the weapon. This is a top quality reproduction of the Emperor's Royal Guard weapon, and I'm so pleased to get this in this package, because this is going to get added, well, already has been added to my one of my Emperor's Royal Guard, and it just looks amazing. We've then got a Skiff Guard weapon, a Jawa Blaster, the grey Bespin Blaster from Squidface, and finally, these are the items in the package that I was most impressed with, and this is the double telescoping lightsabers. The parts involved in manufacturing these are so small, like the engineering involved must have been so precise to make these to the quality that they've been produced. We've got the yellow, the blue, and the red lightsaber. So yellow for Luke Skywalker, blue for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and red for Darth Vader. And I've never held an original double telescoping lightsaber before, but the quality of these, I just have to assume that if they're not as good as the original double telescoping lightsabers from Kenner, then they must exceed them, because they are just incredibly well made. The quality of the plastic, the colours, their functionality, they are just amazing. So Chris, Smithlord Creations, I cannot thank you enough. If you had just sent me a small bag with these weapons in it, I would have still done a review. I would have been astounded. This is a tremendous gift, and I thank you very much. I have got a number of loose vintage Star Wars figures that I don't even display because they don't have their weapons. I'm one of those collectors who likes to display complete toys, and I'm really not bothered with reproductions. You know, everyone sort of knows by now with my Action Man collection that I'm sort of, that's the one toy range that, you know, that's the main thing that I collect. And when it comes to Action Man toys, I do like to collect 100% vintage. But when it comes to vintage Action Man, when you take the Eagle Eye figures, the rubber in the neck perishes and falls away, and I replace it with black elastic. Doesn't bother me. The stickers dry rot and fall off. I replace them with new stickers. It doesn't bother me. I'm more interested in having a toy look nice and complete on display. I would rather have 10 Star Wars action figures who looked really good and complete with reproduction weapons than 10 Star Wars action figures that were missing all of their accessories, because, you know, I don't want to pay what are people paying now for this Endor layer blaster? $90, $100 for a blue layer blaster? I'm sorry, that doesn't cut the mustard for me. I would rather have a nice original vintage Princess Leia from the Kenner line and just accessorize it with this and save myself a massive chunk of change. So, and the quality of these is just incredible. I can tell, I've been around Star Wars since I was around 3 or 4 years old. I've been around Star Wars toys. I've been around toys in general my whole life. I've been a lifelong collector. And although these are top quality, I can easily tell that these are reproduction. And if that's an issue that people have, get over it. Either buy them from trusted sellers online or buy them in person where you can examine them yourself. I don't need to do a float test or a light test or any of these to know that they're reproduction. Having said that, they are top quality reproductions. And all this is going to do is make my loose, incomplete Star Wars figures look a million times better when I display them in my cabinet. So I think I've banged on enough about the accessories. I think they're incredible. And once again, Chris Smith, thank you very, very much, man. I really, really appreciate these. And you have just completed at least a half dozen, or probably a dozen, of my loose Star Wars action figures, which previously were sitting in a shoebox in the cupboard. Now they're going to go behind glass with the rest of my collection. So let's get on to the two big wows that Chris sent me. Man, all right, let's start with the carded versions of Luke in Stormtrooper Disguise and Han in Stormtrooper Disguise. So as I've already mentioned, the first thing that struck me when I took these out of the box and held them was the quality of the cardstock. Now, I've come across recarded figures in the past, and I've always found that the cardstock is very, very flimsy, easy to bend, and just of a low quality. These are solid, heavy cardstock, beautifully, beautifully printed. Again, I can tell they're reproduction. I think they've got just not more of a gloss look than the originals had, but maybe a bit more of a gloss feel to the touch. You know, when you just touch the, I'm gonna knock that over now. Just when you touch the cardstock, it just feels slightly more glossy than the original. So again, you know, for those of you who are concerned that Chris is gonna, you know, flood the market with reproductions, everyone's going to get ripped off. Well, if you get ripped off, you're an idiot, because he doesn't sell them as repros. And as I said, buy them from a trusted seller or purchase them in person. Fill that cardstock and you'll know you're buying a quality custom or reproduction, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, you will still know that these are a reproduction. If you've got experience collecting Star Wars toys, you will know that these are a reproduction. But man, they're just beautiful, man. To the point where I've got a couple of spare acrylic cases for 3 3/4 inch figures. These are going to go in acrylic cases into my Star Wars collection, where they will be treasured forever. For two reasons. One, they were sent to me as a gift, and I've said it already, I really, really appreciate the kind gesture. But also, because I just love them. They are amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. I've already told you the story of my sort of childhood memory of the Luke in Stormtrooper Disguise. But Han Solo, he was my favourite character. Han in Stormtrooper Disguise, even when I saw this at the age of 7, you know, when I first saw Luke in Stormtrooper Disguise, I always wondered, even back then in 1984-85, why there wasn't a Han. Although I hadn't seen this in toy stores, you know, my friends told me that they only did Luke, they didn't do Han, and it just never ever made sense to me. So to be able to have this sort of matching pair, this duo, The two greatest heroes from the Star Wars franchise, from the first film, in such an iconic outfit, from an iconic scene where they're dressed in stormtrooper disguise. Man, it's just amazing. And these will go side by side each other in a glass cabinet in my collection room, and they will never ever leave. I will never resell these. I will never give these to anybody else. I don't know, there's something about not just the fact that these were given to me as a gift, but just the fact that they are... It has reignited some of that excitement you get when you're a child and you get a toy for the first time. That's the way I'm feeling right now about the Han Solo in Stormtrooper disguise. It's just... When I was a kid, this would have been one of the coolest Star Wars action figures going. And getting as an adult, I'm feeling those same emotions I would have felt when I was a child. And for that simple reason, like, these belong in my collection and they are going to stay there forever. So I suppose we need to move away from the carded ones and now talk about the loose figures. So I don't own a Last 17 Luke in Stormtrooper disguise. I think the last one I ever held was the one that my friend had who lived down the street from me when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And people have often sort of commented disrespectfully around the head sculpt for the Luke Stormtrooper. This is very, very similar to the original, but I think there's been some slight touch-ups and some slight changes that have actually improved this from the original sort of... What did he look like? A chickpea, his head? I don't know. It still looks like the vintage Kenner Luke in Stormtrooper disguise, but there's something about the head sculpt that is just vastly improved. It's a very minor touch. I don't know if there's just additional definition on the nose or what it is, but and it may just be my own sort of vague memories of childhood from seeing that original one, but it looks incredible. So anyone who's concerned about Smith Lord Creations making reproductions that are going to rip people off, well, there is no coup on the back of the legs. There is no country of origin stamp marked on either of these figures. The style of plastic that's been used is identical to the original Kenner plastic, the original manufactured action figures from the late 70s and early 80s. You can even see that the torso is a slightly whiter colour than the arms and the legs, because the arms and the legs are manufactured from a slightly different plastic that's probably a tiny bit more rubberized. But this is how they made them back in the day, and it just makes the figure look so much more authentic. The weapon is amazing, and he even holds the weapon on that sort of slight angle that the original Kenner Luke in Stormtrooper disguise, the way he held his weapon. So I would love it if he was holding his weapon straight for once. But a big part of me also loves the fact that he holds his gat in the same way that Luke did back in the day. You know, it might not have been perfect, but they've recreated that imperfection perfectly, if that makes sense. And then we get to the helmet. I mean, what can I say? The helmet looks amazing. It is a perfect, absolutely perfect reproduction of the original Kenner Luke and Stormtrooper helmet accessory. Yeah, man. As I said, this is, when I was a kid, this is the only figure from the Last 17 that I was ever aware of, but also the one that I wanted most. Even though I didn't know about the rest of the line, and later in life when I did find out about it, I still kind of wasn't interested. This is the only figure from the Last 17. Well, I do have Anakin Skywalker, but that's a pretty naff figure. But this is the only figure from the Last 17, probably aside from the Imperial Gunner, that I've ever wanted to add to my collection. And I was never ever going to pay the exorbitant fee that goes for this particular figure. And having this one from Smith Lord, I can put this in my collection and no one will ever know. And that might be the issue with collectors out there, no one will ever know, people will get ripped off, but I'll never sell this as a repro. A collector who's buying it should always look for the country of origin stamp on the back leg. When I say that I want to put this in my collection and people will never know, it's just because it is so well made, it's just going to fit in there seamlessly. Like my very, very recent video of my Action Man SAS customs that I did. I made those Action Man SAS customs using as many original Palitoy parts and accessories as possible so that they maintained that original vintage Palitoy Action Man aesthetic and they would fit in with all the other figures. And that's exactly what this does. It's not going to stand out like a Power of the Force 2 figure does or any of the later Hasbro junk that they pump out. I'm not a fan of the later Star Wars stuff, but yeah, this figure is just incredible. Now, I'm not going to talk about the coin just yet. Let's first talk about Han Solo. So something I quickly noticed about the two of them is that their stance with their legs is slightly different. I don't know if this was done on purpose or whether this was the moulding in the plastic, but I actually really like it because it means that when they're wearing their helmets, you can still differentiate between the two because of the slight differences in their stance. Han Solo, this one here, he doesn't hold his weapon quite as well as Luke. So you'll notice that I haven't got him holding the pistol grip. He's sort of more carrying it in the what we call in the military, in the low carry for a speed march or whatever, where you just carry the weapon very, very low from the center of balance to make it feel as light as possible when you're trying to speed marching. Sort of rambling about my old military days here, but I'm kind of quite happy with him holding the weapon like that, because if I was to display him with his helmet on and Luke with his helmet on amongst a whole bunch of stormtroopers, it just makes them look as though the stormtroopers have got a few different characteristics, with one holding the weapon a different way and the helmet being slightly different. The other thing I notice about Han Solo is his helmet doesn't fit quite as snugly as the Luke action figure does. And when you put the helmet on, it sits very, very nicely if you turn it at a sort of odd 45 degree to the left angle. But if you put the helmet straight on, it sort of sits back a little bit, which at first I thought was a bit odd. But then when I sort of stood it there next to Luke, it actually just looked like a stormtrooper who's looking up, probably at the Death Star, wondering when his next shift's starting. I don't know. But the quality of these toys, the plastic that's used, is just so close to the original Kenner Star Wars action figures that I'm just astounded, man, and I absolutely love them. So finally we're going to get on to the coins, and I'm going to quickly read you the back of the Luke Skywalker Rebel Leader coin. Now this says, young adventurer who rescued Princess Leia from the detention center of the original Death Star battle station. And at the top it has Star Wars, and then across the bottom in sort of a half moon, may the Force be with you. And I've got to say, this, I don't know, I never had any of these collector coins when I was a child, and I probably assumed that these were, and I don't know what the originals feel like, I've never had one. I've always assumed that they would be, really lightweight plastic sprayed metal. I don't know what this is manufactured from, but this is some sort of metal alloy, and they are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. They are incredibly well made. They feel extremely heavy, and I just love them, man. Now, that's the Luke Skywalker one. Now let's take a look at the Han Solo one. And again, I'm going to read you the imprint on the back. Smuggler who assisted Skywalker on a brave mission to save Princess Leia from the evil Empire. So this one, the Luke Skywalker, the Star Wars logo across the top is the original Star Wars logo. This one has got the Power of the Force logo across the top of the coin. And again, in a half moon across the bottom, may the Force be with you. I absolutely love the fact that the engraved portrait of Han Solo on the front of this coin has him wearing the Stormtrooper armor, as does the Luke Skywalker figure. That's just a beautiful touch. So we've got here Han Solo, Rebel Hero, and the Luke Skywalker one is Rebel Leader. So we've got the Rebel Hero and the Rebel Leader. These coins, man, I've never ever been interested in collecting these coins. As I said, when I was a kid, I got out of Star Wars before the Power of the Force line came out. So whenever I've collected original Star Wars figures and vehicles and toys, it's always been from the first 3 movies and not the Power of the Force line. But having these 2 coins here now, it makes me want to go out and start collecting the coins. And if that's the case, well, Chris, you might need to help finance this, because I don't think that's a collection I want to get into doing without going broke. So overall, I am just amazed, astounded at not only the generosity of Chris Smith, but man, I think we need to start a petition, send it to Hasbro, telling them that they need to employ Chris Smith as the head of design, research and development for the Star Wars line. This stuff is just amazing. He should be employed by Hasbro. They should be bringing out, I already mentioned the Bantha. Man, I am so excited for the Bantha. And I'm already on board. I want to get his R2-D2 with pop-up lightsaber, yak face, blue snaggletooth. I want the whole lot. I've probably gone so far the other way now that I will always collect vintage Kenner toys. But I've never ever really been one to collect modern Hasbro Star Wars toys. And I've often told people that I don't collect modern stuff. This is going to be one of those exceptions. After reviewing all this stuff and seeing the quality of the toy, the quality of the card art, the quality of the card stock, the bubbles, the packaging, man, this guy's packaging is out of this world. This is top-notch quality packaging. I now want to collect Smith Lord products. I want to become a Smith Lord collector. That's all I've really got to say. So thank you all for watching this video. I've had an amazing evening opening this up, filming this, giving you guys my thoughts. I've rambled for quite a bit. I'm probably going to have to go back and edit quite a chunk of this video because it's gone on for a fair while. But man, finally, Chris Smith, thank you so much, dude. I'm going to treasure these. And as the video closes, as I promised, I'm going to get these carded figures into acrylic cases and put them in my display cabinet. And the 2 loose figures are going to go in there amongst my other Stormtroopers. Or perhaps I'm going to put them with the original Han and Leia and Chewie, I don't know. But I'm going to put them into the cabinets and I'm going to take a shot of how they look with the rest of my collection and put that on the end of the video. So once again, I'm very excited about the Unreleased Bantha project. For those of you who have not checked out Kevin Sexton's YouTube channel, he calls himself the Toy Smuggler. He's got 7 production update videos. Check all of them out. Like, subscribe, share, get the word out there, because this stuff, I know for Chris, is not... I don't believe he makes much money off these. He pretty much, when he does Luke and Stormtrooper Disguise, the money that he makes from that literally just funds the next project, because tooling for this kind of thing is not cheap. The materials involved, the design, the packaging, getting everything together. This is something that he's doing for the community of retro Star Wars fans. So with the Bantha project, share it around. You know, if he's doing pre-orders and you're interested, do the pre-order. Be patient. Sometimes it takes him a little bit longer than you think it might for him to get the products shipped out to you. He's not ripping you off. I'm telling you, he is not. He is a very well-known guy in the community. He's on Facebook all the time. He is not ripping you off. If he's told you that you're going to get, you know, a yak face or a blue snaggletooth on a certain date, and there is a production delay due to, you know, he wants you to have the best quality product that you can get. And if that means that he's not happy, and I don't know the reasons, I'm kind of, I don't know the reasons why production has been delayed, but what I can imagine is, you know, they've gone to paint one of these figures and he's not 100% happy with the shade of paint for one part of the figure. Chris is the kind of guy who will not be satisfied with that, and he would not send you that product. So please be patient. Production delays occur all the time. Hasbro are absolutely renowned for it. But I believe with Smith Lord, you know, a production delay, you're only talking a couple of weeks. So as I said, I really want the Bantha. I'm not telling everyone to go out and pre-order it. I mean, it's not available for pre-order as yet, but I'm not telling you to pre-order it because I want it. I'm saying if you like the design and you think you want to add it to your collection, pre-order it and be patient. Chris will send you the best quality product that he can in the best quality packing so that you are 100% satisfied. And if that means that he gives me a scheduled packing date and it's pushed back by a few weeks, I'm not going to be disappointed. So I'm going to wrap things up there. Thank you so much to Chris Smith from Smith Lord Creations. I'll leave a link to Kevin Sexton's Toy Smuggler channel in the description below. And right now I'm going to get busy playing with these toys, get them into my cabinets. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video coming soon.